Okie, and welcome again to English 3450 Introduction to Old English. This is the second of 3 videos I've prepared about assessment in this course. In the first video, I described how to find the assessment, how I decide what grade to give you, and how I use these grades to calculate your final grade for the course. In this video, I will talk about the different types of assignments I use and how each is graded. In the third, I will discuss some specific assignments that I use in this course. This video is probably a little more important than the first in terms of helping you understand this specific class, but it is still pretty general. The third is where I get into the details of the assignments you'll be doing, and that's probably pretty important. As I said in the last video, assessment can be found in the syllabus, which is available at the URL you are seeing on the screen right now. Once you are at the class website, there are 2 sections that are relevant for understanding how you will be assessed in this course. In the last video, we looked at the grade scale, which is what I use to convert letter grades to percentages and vice versa. And it also contains the qualitative descriptors that I use to ensure that my grading is accurate and consistent from year to year. In this video, we're going to look at the types of assignments I typically give and the different ways I grade them. You can find this by clicking on Assessment in the syllabus. When you get to the Assessment section, you will see that there are 2 major types of assignments, Formative and Summative. There's a third called Badges, but I'll get to that. Formative assignments are meant for you. They are low-pressure assignments that allow you to assess how you are doing in the class. Formative assignments are graded on a pass-fail or appropriate-inappropriate fail basis. You can find out more about these systems by following links on the syllabus, but in short, what this means is that formative assignments are given a grade of pass, or 100%, whenever you make a good faith and complete effort to finish them. Good faith means that you look like you've tried to do the work and to benefit from the assignment, even if you weren't successful in doing it. By far, the vast majority of the students make good faith efforts to complete formative assignments that they hand in. In fact, the only time you don't get a grade for a formative exercise is if you do one of the following things. You don't hand it in, you hand in something that looks like it was done in bad faith, which is an idea I'll get to in a second, or you hand in something that's inappropriate or significantly incomplete in some way. Not handing in something by the deadline is clear enough. These are usually low-value assignments that we're providing to help you. Except in cases of medical, family, or similar personal difficulties, we generally do not accept late formative assignments. If you are prevented from completing a formative assignment for reasons beyond your control, however, be sure to let us know so we can work with you to help you get back on track. Bad faith, or inappropriate, are a little bit more difficult to understand perhaps. They basically mean either that we think that you weren't taking the exercise in the spirit in which it was intended, that's what we call bad faith, or that you did something that just isn't what we were asking you to do, which is what we mean by inappropriate. An example of bad faith might be that you're asked to hand in a short response on a short story, and you decide just to write a single sentence, "I liked it." That really isn't getting into the spirit of the exercise, so we might call you in and ask why we should give you 100% for such a superficial and short comment. The classic example of bad faith is if somebody asks you to memorize a verse from the Bible and you choose Jesus wept, which is the shortest verse in the Bible. Technically, it's doing what you're supposed to do, but you aren't really getting into the spirit of the exercise. Inappropriate means that you made some major mistake in completing the assignment, or it's incomplete in some major way. For example, you did a type of assignment that was specifically said not to be allowed, or that something goes wrong with a PDF you hand in and maybe the bibliography is missing. The problem here is that you've done some work, so it isn't like you are operating in bad faith or didn't hand something in, but it's also not something that we can grade in a way that's fair to the others or in the spirit of the exercise. In these cases, we call you in and we give you a chance to explain what went wrong and repeat the exercise if we can't otherwise solve it. If the problem was beyond your control, then there's no penalty. If it's because you didn't follow the instructions, then we deduct 2.5% from your final grade when you hand in the revised version. I've spent a lot of time on how you might fail to get marks for formative exercises, but it's really very rare that somebody hands in a formative exercise and yet doesn't get 100%. In the 10 years or so that I've been doing this, that has happened probably fewer than a half dozen times. And if for any reason you hand in work that we consider to be bad faith or somehow inappropriate, we'll contact you before we stop giving you the grade so that you can explain the situation. Only in the most extreme cases will you not actually receive 100% for the formative work you have handed in, and it will always be after a warning. One other thing to say about formative work. Whenever it makes sense, we also give you a letter grade on formative assignments. For example, on essays or on term tests. These grades are entirely advisory and they have no effect on your final grade. They are there simply to help you gauge how you're doing in the course. If you are getting low advisory grades, then you might want to come and see us to see what you can do to improve your learning. If you're getting high advisory grades, it probably means you are doing well in the course. The second kind of assignments in the course are summative. These are assignments that I use to assess how you did in the course as a whole. As you can see, there are not nearly so many of these, and each is worth a lot more as a result. Summative work is graded by percentages and letter grades. In the case of summative work, the grade you receive is the grade that is used to calculate your final score. This is the traditional type of grading you've experienced throughout university and probably high school and grade school before that. There's really not much more to say about it except good luck. There is one other type of grade in this course, badges. These are unusual and they probably need some explanation. The short version is that I use badges to reward excellent work. There are two kinds, distinction and great distinction. In this course, a distinction badge adds 1.5% onto your final grade, and great distinction adds 3%. These badges can be awarded for any work that I consider exceptional, the kind of work that might earn a B+ or especially an A or an A+, but also work that is hard to grade otherwise, but is really outstanding. The badges are applied to your final grade, and they're always worth the same amount, no matter how much the underlying assignment is worth. So a distinction badge on an assignment, let's say a translation exercise, that contributes 3% to your grade is worth the same as a distinction badge on a much larger assignment, let's say your final essay, that's perhaps worth 30%. There are two other things to know about badges. The first is that these are not bonus marks. Instead, I reserve a certain percentage of the grades available in the course to reward outstanding effort. The total assessment in the course, including badges, comes to 100%. Secondly, the criteria for these badges are the same as we use for assigning excellent grades. You get a badge when your work is outstanding according to the criteria of the assignment, in my expert opinion. Taken as a whole, the system may seem a little complicated, but it is research-based and, in my view, far better pedagogically than more traditional techniques. It gives you lots of opportunities to test yourself without any fear of harming your final grade. It is very clear about the work that counts. And while it gives away a lot of marks, it also lets you know how you are doing at all times. And through the badges, rewards you for doing excellent work, even when the work is otherwise being graded on a pass-fail basis and has already earned 100%. It also results mathematically in better grades for almost all students than they would otherwise have received. No student does worse off under this system in the course. Those students at two particular points in the grade scale, students who would otherwise earn an A+ under the traditional system, and students who would have earned about a B+ in that system, well, they come out about the same as they otherwise would. Everybody else does better than they would under a traditional system with the same grades. But the most important thing for me is that it means that for most of your assignments, you are free to experiment. Try out new ways of writing or try something creative. There's literally nothing to lose. If you are interested more in the philosophy behind this approach to grading, including the badges, follow the links in the syllabus. You're also welcome to discuss it with me. This is a topic I'm very interested in, and it's based on several years of research. I'm happy to bend your ear about it. In the next video, I'll discuss the assignment specifically for this course. See you in a couple of minutes. Wes Howell.